So let's switch here to NVIDIA,
Sure.
who they got a downgrade, a rare downgrade. Now, this is a company just 6 months ago, everyone was screaming from the rooftops how this is like the AI play.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everyone loved it. The people like Beth Kindig, which we'll talk about in a second, who predicted that these components that they're selling will be useful, not only just useful, but crucial within the AI sphere, and that you'd get this massive run up in the stock. She was talking about this when I think she was stocking up on NVIDIA. I think it was like $18, maybe even lower than that. And she was like pounding the pavement, this is the stock to buy. And that's how I found out about her. Beth Kindig just absolutely ripped. And she was totally right. So I just want to pull something up here real quick where she was, and I think NVIDIA is the most interesting of these stocks that are down, because a bunch of these other stocks started peaking at the Trump inauguration, and then really started picking up steam in March. But there was resistance to NVIDIA all the way from November. And Beth Kindig put out this post just yesterday, just reminding us. So now NVIDIA is getting downgrades. Honestly, I think that call was about 3 months late. Back in early Jan and again in mid-February, we told our readers NVIDIA could dip below $100. The first was published weeks before DeepSeek, so that was a DeepSeek dip. And the second was when the street was raising price targets into the Fed print. Now that analysts are cutting targets after the drawdown and small investors are caught in the mess, I'm actually more inclined to think we're closer to a bottom. More specifics on the setup we've been eyeing for months in the analysis below. Now, I'm not going to read their whole analysis, but I do want to just read here the conclusion. So they make the case that there's actually weakness within the interpretation of like the narrative of NVIDIA. And the conclusion was that given market jitters around DeepSeek, which turned out to be a non-issue, something more material related to GB200s, which is what this whole article actually talks about, such as growth slowing. So she was talking about the idea that we would have this growth slow this year, below expectations at the start of the new fiscal year, could send the stock below $100, which we would see as a buying opportunity. And they provide more information on that. So she was dead right on that. And you know me, I love my Sears, my Ken Carsons, my Darius Dales, my Beth Kindig. I'll take it. If you're right about a thing, you know about the thing, I want to hear from you. And so NVIDIA below 100 is essentially, we have this gap fill over here. Let me just pull it up real quick. We have this gap fill here on NVIDIA where, well, there was already a gap fill before, but we came down to this area. And my expectation would be to buy this asset. 1 second, it's going to load. Around this area here of anywhere between here and 86. Like that's where I would have wanted to buy NVIDIA. That to me seems like a great price to get in at. So yeah, I think some of these stocks buying the dips at these locations, expecting a 3-year to 5-year potentially grind, is the thing to start doing.
I like it. I was in and out of my position with NVIDIA as it got to the top. Happy to share my analysis on that. I wanted to give a couple of views on what the fundamental snapshot looked like. Give me just a second here.
Sure.
So it had already hovered, at least in the past. It was fundamentally valued around 127, and then it started to move downward a little bit lower to about 101. Are we on
my screen? You want to share yours?
Yeah. Let me share my screen real quick because I want to go back to the trade that I had when we were doing our show in September, and I had a setup on NVIDIA that was really compelling to me. Even at that time, NVIDIA was still roughly at value, if not a little undervalued, and then continued to expand into that extension zone that I was looking for. So I took profits on that trade and started to slowly pull out of the remaining part of my trade. Now I find it interesting again, but I'm going to want confirmation once again that we're headed back up to the upside. So yeah, let me share.
Oh yeah, that's right. You love confirmation. You're not going to catch the fall in life. You're going to wait till.
Oh.
So what's the pattern you're looking for here for the confirmation?
Sure. A very similar pattern to what you saw here. So the first time that I took this trade, if we can actually just bar replay this, let me pull my drawings off as well. The first pattern is very similar here. There was a really big pullback in NVIDIA. And what I'm looking for is basically a move to the upside with at least a 60% retraced from here, and then basically confirmation to the upside once again. And that's exactly what happened here with NVIDIA. So the measurement that I'm taking is, well, here, I'm basically redrawing what's already on my screen. So you can see here that I looked for this pullback. We hit the 0618, and then I'm looking for confirmation and a nice good close right above a short-term moving average from here, or a short-term EMA. So then that's where I'm painting an extension. So my expectation right around that time was that we would at least hit the 150 to 155 range. I think I had figures posted right around that point. And sure enough, we had tested this downward trend line, and then ultimately closed back up it again. And NVIDIA ended up hitting my 155 target. And I think that's 150 target. And that's when I started to get out of that position, maybe a little prematurely. I think our best day here was a high of 152. So it got a little shaky for me here. I could see this zone was getting a little sideways. So I started to unwind that position. But we're starting to see a similar type of pullback here now, where I'm interested in knowing where we go from here. I'd like to see confirmation to the upside, and then obviously a pullback. And if we post a new higher low here, that's where I start getting interested.
Okay, perfect. So you're the narrative of the AI narrative, especially as the trade expression for NVIDIA. You're still on board. You're just seeing
I'm
this
still on
as
board. Yeah. And mainly because of the fundamentals. As we look at the valuation on NVIDIA in general, we're still undervalued here, especially at today's close. And that's largely because NVIDIA is still seeing the demand we continue to expect. So while there is a downgrade from analyst forecasts 12 months from now, the expectation is that they're still going to grow by 67% over the next year.
Got it.
On
Okay.
EPS.
Well, to that end, let me just go ahead and play this small interview from Beth Kindig, who was on Fox Business, just talking about this, mirroring what you're saying there, Mike.
Sure.
On their lead tech analyst, Beth Kindig. I got to tell you, Beth, it's just, I'm waiting for
This is 2 weeks ago, right? So NVIDIA was still suffering, and they brought her on and were like, "Hey, is this the end of the trade?"
Say something. The more he brags, the more the stock goes down. Help me. What's going on here?
Great to see you, Charles. Yes, the keynote is in progress for the Super Bowl of tech, of AI. Ultimately, Jensen Huang is out there today. He's really discussing in granular detail how AI has progressed. AI can now reason. It can break down problems step by step. It can solve problems it's not specifically trained to solve. Like you said, that will increase token usage by 100x more than he thought last year, resulting in 10x more computing power required. He's answering for investors why NVIDIA's GPUs will remain in demand. It does not matter if cheaper models are run on a single GPU, because ultimately for these advancements to continue, we need to see that 10x in computing power, and we all know which company will serve that demand.
So you're saying, like even though DeepSeek said they use an older or not as advanced a bunch of chips, I think the H100s, and we've seen other advancements in China. This new Manus thing is catching fire. That we still have to have a Blackwell. That companies that want to dominate still need Blackwell, and then of course now there's Rubin. He's making a case that those are still necessary for those companies that want to dominate in the AI space.
Exactly. It's not only necessary for those trillion-plus parameter models, which is really where those big breakthroughs are going to happen, but he's saying that CapEx is accelerating even faster than he previously estimated. Right now, we are at $300 billion for CapEx. He's saying $1 trillion by 2028. That's roughly 3x in about 3 years. I'll take that as an investor. It was previously 2030. He's saying this is moving faster than ever before. And since we last saw him a year ago, it's just continuing to accelerate, and we're seeing up to $1 trillion spent in 3 years.
So my admiration.
Tom, I think you're on mute.
Wanted to end on that because it can sometimes be tempting to think about to get bogged down into the charts, and it's hard to not just believe what we're seeing here. I don't know if you saw this, but or if you've experienced the same thing, but over the last couple of weeks, the new AI tools that have come out and projects and websites and services have absolutely blown my mind.
Right. I don't think the narrative has changed on the adoption rate we can continue to anticipate when it comes to the usage of these tools, which, to their point in that segment there, is only going to continue to demand more CapEx from companies that are looking to gain the most out of AI. And it's not just tech companies that are investing in this. This is, we saw there's AI initiatives even from telehealth companies like HIMSS that are starting to see massive increases in overall net margin as a result of their implementation of these types of tools. So we have plenty of other industries to touch here. We have plenty of other industries with CapEx on the sidelines that will go into AI initiatives. I don't see that slowing down anytime soon.
That's right. And the NVIDIA play is not a directional play on any particular iteration of AI. They get to you get to enjoy the broad spectrum when you're buying this asset. Until I see something else that's as good, that to me it's like this is the hardware play, and then you have the software play that you can deal with, Amazon, Meta, and Google, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and finding those individual picks is largely going to come down to really trying to anticipate or pay attention to their product offerings. What we're doing at this point is trying to look at these companies that have the potential of implementing AI as a solution, but then keeping an eye on their product. The moment it starts to look real fancy, and you've got an earnings report coming up, that might be a good time to at least earmark a share or two for that company just to see where they go from here. I think there's many software companies that are going to benefit from AI implementation, many service sector companies that are going to benefit from it as well, and they're worth keeping an eye on. It's not just the NVIDIA play. However, NVIDIA consistently ends up being the benefactor to a lot of this.
Let's take a moment to shout out TradersPost, the automated trading platform designed to take the friction out of executing your strategies. Whether you're trading stocks, futures, or crypto, TradersPost connects seamlessly to your broker or exchange, giving you the flexibility to automate your trades without missing a beat. If you're tired of being the bottleneck in your own success, it's time to let automation do the heavy lifting. Head over to TradersPost.io and see how easy it is to streamline your trading. TradersPost, because your strategy deserves to run at full speed.